come on the radio tonight. Let's speak to the broadcaster and commentator Mohammed Shafiq, who's in Rochdale, one of the towns under new restrictions in the northwest of England. Mohammed, good evening.
Good evening, Stephen.
It's good to have you back, sir.
Yeah,
and
good to be
Andrew
back.
Western, leader of Trafford Council in Manchester. Hello, Andrew.
Hi.
Hi, Andrew. Mohammed, your reaction to what Craig Whittaker has said?
Well, it's appalling scaremongering of the worst kind. Only a few weeks ago, Leeds United fans were outside Ellen Road in their thousands in West Yorkshire, just up the road from his own constituency. Yet he didn't say anything. I've searched his Twitter feed. I've searched his Facebook. And he's not absolutely mentioned anything about that, but seems to be one to jumping up and down when it comes to BME communities. We as a community have been at the forefront of dealing with this virus. People have died in hospitals and people have died in communities, and we follow the guidance as the government announced. What we have an issue with is the way the announcement was made, 2 hours notice, and then what are you saying to people? It's like making an announcement, Stephen, on Christmas Eve, and then telling people at 9 o'clock on Christmas Eve, sorry, Christmas Day is cancelled and you can't stay at your loved one's home. And it's caused a lot of anger, resentment. And Craig Whittaker's comments, the fact that he's refusing to debate this issue with me,
Is he not
shows you how really scared he is.
Is he not entitled to believe what he says? Is he not entitled to that view without being labelled as racist?
Well, when you selectively target a community, we have an issue with that. So, as I said, you look at the pubs, you look at restaurants, you look at the beaches today, you look out in the communities, what was happening. We didn't see him talking about that. He's talking just about BME communities and in particular Muslims. That's why it was offensive, and that's why I think you should apologise.
Andrew?
I would totally agree with that. I think these were disgraceful comments that really will do damage to community tensions, and I think it's scapegoating, to be perfectly honest, from a Conservative MP, given the position that we find ourselves in, frankly, because lockdown was lifted too soon.
But look, we know that BAME communities, people from within those communities, are disproportionately affected. And we know that the government is currently doing research into that. So why is it not reasonable for an MP, Mohammed, to raise the prospect that those people in those communities, they need to take this a lot more seriously than what they're doing? I wonder, Mohammed, why you think, of course you can disagree with him, but it doesn't start meaning that he's any ulterior motive, surely.
Well, when he doesn't target any other parts of the community, when he doesn't go after people in pubs,
the BAME community is disproportionately affected, you know.
That's a secondary issue.
It's not. How is it a secondary issue? It's a critical issue at the heart of this, surely.
It's a secondary issue when you deliberately target just one community. He went after the BME community. As I said, he didn't talk about the fans at Liverpool.
But you're describing it as him targeting it, him targeting that community. Some people could argue that is Craig Whittaker caring about that community.
Well, I don't know if that's the type of caring conservatism that they want to promote, then thanks, but no thanks. This is not about the issue of the virus. And as I said, the government guidance has changed, and we will abide by that. We will support it as we've done throughout this crisis. But what isn't acceptable is for the rampant Islamophobia and targeting of one particular community. And what was disappointing more than anything today, that the Prime Minister had an opportunity at the press conference today to distance himself from that. He refused to do that. And that in itself is complicit about where the Conservative Party is in 2020.
Where have you seen spikes in Trafford, Andrew?
So we've seen predominantly, although in the last few days we've started to see a broader spread across the borough, increased rates of transmission and people infected by the virus in our wealthier and actually less diverse parts of the borough in the south of the borough. So we have seen the worst impacted ward being Hale, and they currently have a rate of around 95 cases per 100,000, with specific reference to BAME communities. If we were to compare that with our most diverse ward, which is Clifford in the north of the borough, their rate is only 36.6. So I do think it's a bit of a crude generalisation to target BAME communities in the way that this Member of Parliament has done.
And
Absolutely.
why are you using the word target?
Well, because there is absolutely no evidence that I have seen that the reason for the prevalence of the virus in BAME communities is because they do not take this matter seriously. We know that there are structural reasons, and the government's initial investigation into the increased deaths or the higher death rates in BAME communities highlighted this, that there are institutional and structural reasons why BAME communities are more impacted by this. That is health inequalities, that is poverty, that is deprivation, that is overcrowding in households and multi-generational households living together. It is absolutely the case that these are factors, and that has been considered and documented at length. What cannot be said definitively as an extension of that is that these communities are not taking the matter seriously. I think that's a disgraceful slur, actually, and I'm really disappointed that it's been put forward in the way that it has.
We're going to leave it there. Andrew, Mohammed, thank you very much.